Hello, Dr. Lauer and class. This is Annika Bossum with the draft of my final project, looking at happiness as a measure of success. Success, traditionally, for a country or an individual is measured by economic success, but today we'll see that well-being or happiness is also an important measure of how a country or an individual is doing. The data we'll be looking at refers to happiness, but I want to clarify that that's not in the sense of momentary emotion. We're looking at overall life satisfaction or well-being. The CDC defines well-being as judging life positively, and it includes all of these different factors. The data we're exploring comes from the World Happiness Report for 2017. Participants in a world poll were asked to rate their life satisfaction on a scale from 0 being the worst to 10 being the best. And then the average score of people within a country is that country's happiness score. 155 countries reported a happiness score for 2017, and they range from 2.6 to 7.5. Recall the scale is from 0 to 10. The mean happiness score was 5.35, and in fact, over a third of countries rated themselves right in the middle, 5 to 5.99. This is what those 155 happiness scores look like on a world map. Yellow are the highest scoring countries and blue are the lowest. And there are some noticeable trends by region. The happiest countries for the most part are in Western Europe or America, Australia, and New Zealand. Norway ranked #1 in 2017, although Iceland, Denmark, and Switzerland had scores that were not statistically different. So Western Europe is very happy. On the other end, the least happy countries tended to be in Africa or the Middle East. Central African Republic ranked the lowest. The World Happiness Report researchers believe that these 6 factors contribute most to happiness: economic security, social support, health and life expectancy, a sense of personal freedom, generosity, and whether people believe that their government is trustworthy or corrupt. This will be an updated version of the scatter plot matrix that I shared a couple weeks ago. Then we will zoom in on a couple of those factors that have a very strong relationship to happiness and take a closer look at those. The impacts that each of the 6 factors have on happiness is not equal. So as we saw with the high correlation, economic security and social support impact happiness quite a bit. Freedom, generosity, and trust are also considered to be social factors. So when you combine those with social support, social factors have a very high impact on happiness. It's also interesting to note that there's quite a large percentage here that the researchers can't attribute these 6 factors to part of the happiness scores for each country. This is definitely an area for future research. They may be variables that can't be measured, variables that they don't have accurate data on for the entire world. And they might include things like having a feeling of purpose in life, cultural differences, whether there's violence, disease, or a feeling of unrest in a country, the type of work people do, and mental health. So looking at some specific countries, we'll see that in the middle we have world average, and this is that same data from the pie chart. And we'll see the 5 happiest countries have a similar proportion of those 6 key factors. So quite a bit of economic security affecting happiness, but also a lot of social support and those social factors. Looking at the lower end, we'll note that Central African Republic has a 0 for economic security and social support, and it was unclear from the data if they scored a 0 or if that information was not available. But looking at the next 4 lowest countries, we see there's more variability here in what impacted their happiness, although social support and those other social factors were quite high. One thought is a quote. The Harvard study found that social relationships and support are the most important factor in predicting long term health. The people who were most satisfied in their relationships with family and friend in their 50s turned out to be the healthiest people in their 80s. So, much like what we saw in the world data, social support really contributes to health and happiness and success. So I believe that happiness and well-being are measures of success. The good news is some policymakers are starting to take notice and pay attention to that as well, as we can tell from this quote from David Cameron. Will you join them? Thank you.